Now that Russia has invaded Ukraine, fears are growing there could be war on Swedish soil. The country is preparing just in case. Both the military and civilians are bracing themselves. The government is encouraging people to become preppers, trained in survival tactics and ready for any kind of crisis.
Make sure the holes are spaced evenly for better airflow.
Prepping is, if a crisis occurs, it's better to be prepared, and together it increases the safety and decreases fear.
Skärholmen, a suburb of Stockholm. This is where Robin lives with his partner Mikaela, their daughter Juno, and their son Louvet. Robin and Mikaela are preppers, meaning they try to be as prepared as possible for any type of emergency.
What happens if there's a blackout and our whole apartment is dark? What do we do?
I'd light one candle and then another.
And then? How do we cook?
We can use this oven here. I think it gets really hot.
Robin and Mikaela quiz their kids regularly. He's a 43-year-old truck driver, and she's a 37-year-old kindergarten teacher. They also ensure their prepper kit is up to date. It's estimated that 20% of Sweden's population makes these types of preparations.
Every Swede is supposed to be able to take care of themselves for a few days without having to go to the shop or the store for any reason. So we have decided to store some food and supplies elsewhere than in the normal cupboard in the kitchen.
In time of a crisis, I can, be sure that we're safe, or at least, a little bit more comfortable, and we don't need to drain resources from, the larger society and community, because they'll be taking care of other people. Like sick and elderly people are going to need more help. This brochure came out a couple of years ago. It says if the crisis or the war is coming. Every household got this, and basically it shows some scenarios. Here's about the Swedish defense system, and there's also these checklists for food, water, heating. But that all changed, so now they want you to have more, so you can sustain yourself for a longer period of time.
Robin and Mikaela want to be prepared for the worst and make sure their children are too. Once or twice a month, the family sets out to the forest, even when temperatures are below freezing, like on this day in early April. But Robin's greatest fear isn't Russian boots on Swedish soil. It's something more intangible than that.
What Sweden is facing is, we made our society really vulnerable. The goal is to be, the first society without any cash, which is kind of a weird thing, because that makes us really susceptible to any kind of cyber attack. Shut down our electricity, shut down the power grid. If nuclear weapons go off, it doesn't really matter how much I've prepped. We're pretty much f***ed anyway, so.
At the beginning, Mikaela thought her partner's hobby was peculiar, but she's since been convinced of its importance. Practicing outdoor survival skills is also meant to teach 12-year-old Juno and 5-year-old Louvet about perseverance and working together, like when building a simple shelter.
Pull this line further down, then it's nice and taut and the wind will blow over the roof and not under it. Here, I'll hold and you'll pull tight.
Ser väldigt fint ut det där, Juno. Ja, det är jättefina knutar. We all talk about climate changes and global warming and war right now. Taking it a bit further, maybe. Just not talking about the problem, or more like talking about the solution or how to handle it, instead of just accepting that someone else should take care of it.
When Juno turned 4, her father gifted her a sharp knife. They practice with it often. Her survival training has already come in handy. When she and her friends got lost in the forest a few years back, Juno instructed the children to use their bodies to spell the letters SOS in a clearing. The search party quickly located them.
I cut the wood into small pieces. That makes it easier to start a fire. If you don't have an axe, you can take a piece of wood and hammer it on your knife. That will split it too.
Juno also knows how to use a magnesium flint to start a fire without gas or lighter fluid.
Oh, look, Dad, I'm bleeding.
Juno takes her injury in stride. Robin believes that these weekends in the woods have made his daughter tougher. After their meal, the training ends for the day, and the family returns home. While Sweden has taken part in peacekeeping missions, the country hasn't formally gone to war for over 200 years. For a long time, the country pursued a foreign policy of neutrality, and then one of military non-alignment. But the situation is changing rapidly. Ever since Russia illegally annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014, there's been mounting concern over a Russian invasion in Sweden. Stockholm. A very special lesson is being taught at this school here today. Anna Telefors from the Swedish Civil Contingencies Agency, MSB, is visiting. The risk manager is often invited to schools to teach youth about how to behave during a crisis. The demand for this curriculum has increased significantly since late February. The Swedish island of Gotland lies in close proximity to the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. For years, Russian drones and surveillance aircraft have been circling over the island, violating Swedish airspace.
They could try to occupy Gotland. That would give them better access to capture the Baltic states.
Do you think about that a lot? Every day? Do you worry about a Russian invasion? Or are there other threats like climate change? How do you weigh one against the other?
Anna Telefors uses a quiz to introduce the students to various disaster situations. How can they protect themselves and others in the case of war? What about a fire, flooding, or blackouts? One scenario in particular dominates the group session: the perceived threat by Russia.
Sweden has been struggling with foreign espionage for years, like from Russia, for instance. Sensitive information needs to be treated with care, especially when sharing it with someone in the political sphere. Even if you think you know the person, you need to be cautious.
Finland is under an even greater threat. It's much closer to Russia. I have relatives in Finland. We all worry about them, my mother especially. War is much more likely to break out there.
A few kilometers away, in the suburb of Skarpnäck, Robin has joined a group of preppers. Social education worker Per Plushka came up with the concept. He wants to show sports clubs and neighborhood communities that it's better to face emergencies as a united front.
If we happen to end up in a crisis and we already have a strong community and with a sense of cooperation, then that makes us much safer. then we know that, okay, well, this is where we start. It's already a safe space. But if we are only individuals and we fear each other because that's what we've heard or we've read or seen on TV shows, like everybody is the other person's enemy, and then I might be afraid of my neighbors instead of working together with my neighbors.
Some of the course participants know very little about prepping. They've only ever banded together before to fight rent hikes in the neighborhood. Today, they're learning that cans aren't only useful for storing food, but also for cooking it.
This is my first time, and I'm not very good with tools, so I'm just I don't know. This is but it's fun.
So and on the island,
Darun and Tishbin are both Kurdish. As teenagers, they fled from the so-called Islamic State terrorist group in Iraq. Per Plushka invited them to share their experience of what it was like to fight for survival during wartime.
What would you say would be one of the most important things?
There is a fight, there is war, you hear bullets flying, then you stress, then you cannot think properly, then you do something dumb and you get killed. It's not because it was difficult, like physically you could survive, but then because you are stressed, you make bad decisions, and when you make bad decisions, your chances of survival becomes lower.
So how did you handle stress?
Now, if a similar situation would happen, it's like I'm mentally prepared because, for example, I train a lot. I do cold showers and I do training in the gym, and this is all stress. Then you get used to stress. So it's very important you prepare your body. Like if you have a good condition, it helps a lot.
The people here are curious to learn more.
It's very interesting how you keep yourself informed during a crisis, and that they were talking about, for example, the internet and fake news, and you cannot trust maybe all the information that you get, and how to navigate in that mishmash of information. That it's very important to have good sources and ask a lot of people.
I think it's good to have this information and knowledge just because to be prepared and just to think about these things, because could happen, like we've seen wars and
The Swedish Civil Contingencies Agency, MSB, is responsible for helping the population prepare for conflict and crises. Anna Telifors manages communications. Today she's meeting Martin, a YouTuber, blogger, and prepper. Together they plan to create an educational video on Stockholm's bunkers. Anders Kinberg and Emily Nordin Kollenstål are from the property management. They lead a tour through an underground parking garage that doubles as a bunker. In case of an emergency, these massive steel doors can be shut at a moment's notice.
You can access the bunker through here. These stairs take you directly to the main train station. The railings are color-coded. Each will take you to a different floor of the bunker. You simply have to follow the color you've been assigned.
This vast bunker is one of 2,000 that Stockholm has been constructing since the 1930s. Many more were built during the Cold War, amidst fears of nuclear fallout.
Would you say this bunker is operational?
It's operational and ready for use. We have an air filtration system here that we service on a regular basis. Everything's in good condition. We also have further investment planned for the near future, but I can't disclose any details on that.
This type of shelter is for 8,000 people, so you have to make it ready decent time before things really happen. But when or if you need it clear, then it should be done in 48 hours. They can be here for, we have water supplies for 3 days, and we have electrical supplies for, I think it's 30 days, and air for as long as we need. So, and it's in good shape.
As a prepper and YouTuber, Martin is filming the bunker for his community.
Especially if you go into internet and check Facebook, people are afraid. You can see that from the questions they answer. The focus of shelters, medicine you take against radiation. We need to meet them with this reassuring message that, hey, take the opportunity now. As Nessa said, take a step back, plan. Is this really coming, or is it something you're just scared of?
Throughout the Cold War, every Swede had the right to a spot in a bunker. In Stockholm alone, there are thousands of private shelters and residential basements. It's unknown how many of them are ready for use. The shelter in Martin's apartment building in northern Stockholm is. On his website, the 50-year-old IT specialist highlights durable radios and long-lasting power banks. He also posts videos of himself testing out heat lamps to see if they can keep him warm in sub-zero temperatures. And he manages discussions with his nearly 1,000 followers on who is behind all these crises.
It can be quite stressful. You can start not feeling well if you think about it too much. Because then you could become one of those crazy preppers that don't trust anyone at all. When you're entering prepping and you start the interest, you can go down a dark path by reading too much as well. And then you can go into conspiracy theories and stuff like that, which, yes, we should always compare information from all sides.
Recently, his grandmother passed away. He uses her old apartment to store his gear and non-perishable foods. In the past years, Martin has invested several thousand euros in prepping.
Having the stuff and having a buffer of money and having a buffer of food actually gives me time to adjust to a new situation. Where if I didn't have all these stuff, I would be panicking, and then I would feel fear, I think.
In case of a blackout, Martin makes sure to always have enough water in supply. His son Maximilian helps his father prep. This bag is made out of metallized PET foil, which is considered to be especially durable and tear-resistant.
Ja, det blir nog perfekt.
Så. 5 kilo blir det nästan.
In order to preserve food for longer, Martin bought a dehydrator.
Let's see if the lemons are ready.
Ska se. Ska vi se vilken det är. Ja, titta. Och vill du äggröra?
And here are crispy scrambled eggs. Try them. Now they're crunchy.
They taste salty.
But they still taste like eggs. Put them in water and they're back to as they were.
Into egg chips. Why I'm doing this is a good way of preserving ordinary food to last a very long time. Am I preparing for a crisis that will last for longer than a year? I don't know, but for lemon Yeah, we might see a shortage of lemon depending on the situation, because Sweden is not the best country for growing lemons.
Martin mostly worries about supply shortages and the effects of a Russian energy embargo. Meanwhile, some 50 kilometers northeast of Stockholm, members from Sweden's Home Guard are rehearsing for a military emergency.
You want gloves? No, we'll warm up as soon as we get started.
All right, full out. Let's go.
The mood here is laid back. All here are volunteers. The Home Guard is a unit within the Swedish Armed Forces with the core mission of protecting Swedish territory and providing support in times of crisis. Today, 70 men are training with the Carl Gustaf, a Swedish anti-tank weapon, and live ammunition. Carl Gustafs are also being used in Ukraine's fight against Russia. No one here seems to have any hesitation about handling heavy artillery.
When I did national military service, I was a bit younger, and it was, I think it was like, not a rule, but every guy did it. And everybody did it, so I also did it. And I learned a part of myself doing it, plus I kind of growed up during my national military service. And from then, I just kept working in construction, but I always look back a bit, so now I'm here again.
I have no problem with doing what I have to do if it comes real, like it's have been in Ukraine, what the Ukrainians are doing for their country, and I will do the same for my country.
And why?
Because I enjoy all the freedoms, and I really think that you have to stand up for them. And if I only enjoy the freedoms but don't stand up for them, they are not worth much.
The volunteers take part in exercises several times a year. The state compensates each day of lost earnings with 80% of their net income. In return, the Home Guard members commit to serve in the event of war. Some 20,000 are standing by, in addition to nearly 30,000 conscripts, professional soldiers, and officers. Officer Johan Miedenby teaches civilians how to use anti-tank weaponry. Ever since Russia attacked Ukraine, some 25,000 volunteers have signed up for the Home Guard. That was more than the Home Guard had in members at that point.
We are prepared. We will do everything that we can to protect our democracy and also our country, of course. So more weapons means that it will be more risk of some mistakes. To have peace is, of course, the most, well, the best thing. And a weapon is not bringing peace. Weapon have a purpose, and of course, if you can have the purpose of the weapon just to put a situation that no one dares to threat you, so there will always be someone with more weapon at the end. So decrease the weapon is of course a better solution in the long term.
But currently in Sweden, all signs point towards more weapons. By 2028, the government wants to increase its defense spending to 2% of the nation's GDP. Robin also trains with the Home Guard. But he doesn't want to be filmed holding a weapon. Instead, we follow him to another course offered by Per Plushke. The topic today is first aid, useful knowledge, not only in times of war. Per Plushke says he witnessed a deadly altercation just days ago in Skarpnäck. Right before the social worker's eyes, a teenager was gunned down with 3 shots to the head.
I try to do what I can until the police and ambulances arrive. And this person, he was already dead. So after that, we had this workshop because we were thinking like, you're living in a really hard world.
Apply pressure like this, hold it firmly until paramedics arrive or until you find a bandage.
Whether gang violence, looming war, the COVID-19 pandemic, or natural disaster, Per Plüschke tries to meet any crisis with establishing a sense of community.
Politicians, they might talk about we need to do this on a big scale. Well, I work here on the local level, and by doing that and setting an example, other people can do that as well and inspire me, and, well, vice versa. It's the same when it's a war. It's really abstract, it's huge. Or a climate catastrophe. We can start growing our food. We need to plant more trees because there will be more floodings because of the climate. Or inspiring each other, it can have a bigger effect.
Back to the Stockholm city center. Martin and Maximilian are scoping out possible escape routes. In the event of war, Martin believes the capital would descend into chaos as residents attempted to flee. Stockholm spans 14 islands that are connected by more than 50 bridges. But only 8 of these bridges lead out of the city center. Father and son are looking for the best route to head south, where they could stay with relatives in an emergency.
So we're just observing smaller bridges instead of this really big bridge, because if something happens, I mean, bridges are always targets for military actions. And we also see that people can't drive in a normal situation, so if there's a crisis, they most certainly won't be able to drive good.
A good way could be like taking the boat out, but not many people have access to boats because everyone lives in like small and crowded places.
Whatever comes, Martin is ready. He's long thought of Russia as a threat, whether through cyber attacks, its influence on election campaigns, or contracted killings. The best way for his country to prep, he says, is simple: by joining NATO.
The goal is to make Swedish people unsure and you know, turn against each other, not trust the government, so we lower our morale and become easy targets. I mean, NATO is a security kind of an insurance group, so that's a huge strength for Sweden because we are in a severe situation being squashed between NATO countries, and we have Russia so close. My mission with prepping is just to make sure that my family can live a normal life, whatever happens. Well, with the only thing, war, you can never have a normal life. but you can have resources that make you, so you can actually have the water, you can still eat, and you're not starving.
And it looks like Martin's wish will come true. Sweden is now in the process of becoming a NATO member.